Welcome to the Minds of Yachtllywood, the podcast. Here we will uncover the stories behind the yachting industry.
I always say we're in the entertainment business. Our mission is to...
I've heard other perspectives saying we need to attract more.
Going to take yachting, I believe, to a further dimension, because what is nice is they all have the same basic ingredients in them. It's they're looking to have fundamental driver is you have to be dedicated, passionate, and go 110%.
I'm Sofiana Bergolzi, your host, and now let's dive into the conversation. But first, take a little second and hit the subscribe button.
Welcome to this new episode of Yachtllywood Podcast, and today we're here in Michael Breman. Michael, I'm so honored. I've been chasing you for months. We know about your achievements, and you are a personality in the super yacht industry. But we want to know a little bit more of who is Michael Breman outside of the yachting industry. What are your passions? What are the principles that have you in the position that you are today?
It's a little bit hard to sum up in a nutshell, but I have actually a very marginal life outside of yachting. It does take most of my time, but I do it with pleasure. I've been doing it for a fair amount of years now, but always, as I say, with a lot of enjoyment. When I'm not involved in yachting, I like to sit at home, where I have my chicken and my sheep and work in the garden and just really try to forget about all the crazy world we live in.
That's so beautiful. It's a completely opposite, right? It brings you down to earth instead of being in the open ocean.
Yeah, I live in a small old farm, and the chicken came during Corona. They have become a wonderful addition to my life and our life with my partner, and we look after them. They look after us. It's like therapy. And they have an Instagram page.
Really?
And we try to...
the page to follow.
It's Eric with a C in French, _ coq, C-O-Q in French.
Eric Lecoq.
Eric Lecoq.
So cute.
Yeah.
We will follow that.
Everybody has to follow it.
Everybody. And tell me, how did you start in yachting? I know you've been for 30 years and more.
Don't tell me my age, no.
Okay.
I fell into yachting completely by accident. So I was working in the Middle East, and I met a man who offered me a job to work for him as an assistant, and one of the companies that he owned was also a yachting company in Italy called Baglietto, and I ended up there in 91, and I've never left yachting there since.
And how was it at the beginning for you? I know that from my point of view now, once you are in yachting, there's a lot of pressure, and there is such a high standards for perfection and good quality. How was for you to keep those standards and maybe find some obstacles in the way?
So many obstacles. It becomes quite apparent that everybody who works or in the product of building yachts, I always say we're in the entertainment business. Our mission is to make a certain part of the lifestyle of certain individuals possible by building as good as you can. And that's actually how I've always approached it. But I discovered very quickly, and that would be my advice to anybody, is if you're going to go in yachting and you want to stay, you do have to make it a lifetime commitment. Otherwise, you will not make a difference. And I think importantly is that you stay true to yourself. So you have to be yourself. If you try to be like somebody else, you will be discovered, and that looks pretty stupid.
Yeah.
And I think if you have that attitude, you can serve your clients well with a certain amount of humility and understand what your role is in the pecking order, to quote Chicken, how things work. You can make a difference. And in the beginning, it was quite easy for me, because what I kind of was forced to do is I wore a T-shirt and a pair of shorts, and I was in the shipyard. And I did not know much about boats, but I learned from the ground up with the people that were building the boats how it was done. I did that for a few years, and that really helped me understand the spirit of what the passion is to build a boat for somebody else.
And what was that first role that you had in Baglietto?
Well, I was supposed to go and assist the managing director, and because I speak a few languages, it became apparent that it was useful to meet with customers, and the customers were Germans and Spanish and other. And so I ended up in sales and marketing and have never left, which is good because I'm not a technical person.
That's good. And what was those biggest achievements, let's say, until now, 3 main achievements in your career that has make like the pivot points?
That's very hard to answer because each and every boat is special that we have managed to do, but there's a few boats that are much closer to what one would do oneself that come to mind. So Octopus is definitely a large moment in my life that I thought, which was relatively at the beginning, but it is a boat that had a lot of fascination for me from the moment we got the design brief to what the boat is, and she's still doing very well today. So that was particularly, and I'm very excited to be working now on projects that are going to take yachting, I believe, to a further dimension because we're applying a new technology to create boats that are much more energy efficient in their use and in their propulsion. And that is particularly exciting. So very happy to, at this point in my life, to be very much involved in projects like that.
And you have the lab, right, in Lürssen?
Yes.
Innovation lab, I think.
Yeah, we call it Innovation Lab. It's basically a test bed for a fuel cell, a methanol. Actually, it's a hydrogen fuel cell. The hydrogen is reformed from methanol, and it is a small one. And it was run as a test to see how the equipment would work. We've progressed from there, and we're now actually doing a validation of this test and installing a 1 megawatt fuel cell on a yacht that we have in construction, which is the Cosmos project, and that will be ready end of next year. So,
that's one of the biggest projects you're working on now?
It's a large project, but not one of the largest. I mean, not the largest.
And how is it to work with the level of clientele that you work? Basically, you have these personalities worldwide known, or and they come to you, and basically they tell you, build my own world, build my own island, and maybe they have very specific desires. How is that, the process?
I think the process is different every time with every client. Not every client is as present as another client. But what is nice is they all have the same basic ingredients in them. It's they are looking to have something manufactured that is the best for their family, best for their relaxation, for their recharging of the batteries. And that is nice to participate in that. And the actual reward comes when the boat's finished and the owner or the owner's wife or all sit on the sofa and say,
there you go.
I feel at home. Then you have succeeded. But it doesn't matter who the client is. It is the same mission for each and every client. And if you do that with concentration and effort, it will work.
And you say they have all the same ingredients. What are those ingredients, and what would be like some tips that you use in the human level to work with this clientele?
As I said before, I think fundamental driver is you have to be as genuine as can be. And that's generally what works the best. Because if you are yourself and you are conscious of what your role is in the equation of life, then you will succeed.
You have any anecdote, something that happened to you, or maybe something that you learn as well in the human level, not in the professional side, because every project I imagine is new challenges and new things you learn. But in the human level, what have you learned with these clients?
I've learned one important thing, that is they are just as human as you and I are.
Yes.
And just have the same tastes and wants and desires as you and I have. And they're not particularly different in that respect than any of us. And I think once you understand that and have a feel for that, it is a relatively normal conversation. It's anecdotes I have many, but I don't share them because they are part and parcel of the world we live in, which is always very discreet, and I like to keep that.
Yeah, talk to me about that part. We know, as you say, there is a lot of secrecy and we're very discreet here, but is there some guideline to mark that levels of privacy? Is the shipyard who is marking that line, or is always the wishes of the owner? Curiosity.
No, the owners drive that. We always defer to the owners and how much publicity we are allowed to give on whatever details of the boat. I mean, if you build a house and you have your home and you have your interior design, you don't necessarily want to share it with everybody.
Absolutely.
The privacy of your own home. And some clients are more open than others, and it is actually nice when they are, because this way we can share it, because the best ambassadors for the lifestyle of yachts are the owners themselves. They have to be the positive ones. If I'm positive, that's expected of me. But if the owner tells his or her peers that yachting is a fantastic thing and that to build a boat is the best thing there is, then that is good for us. And hopefully they talk, but most of them are relatively discreet.
Does it represent some challenges for you inside of the industry?
Sure. If you can't show anything, it's a little bit difficult, as opposed to somebody who can show things a lot.
Of course.
And there's a lot of boats we have built. They have a mystique around them because nobody has ever seen them. They disappear, they cruise, but
I think it's part of the mystery, of the charm of
maybe that's it. Yeah.
From my perspective, the whole mystery, and not only the mystery of the yacht, but the mystery of the dynamics of the industry, are some kind of charm, right? But then there is, like, you need to know to balance how much you want to communicate.
You will also have noticed that the industry is filled with dynamic, a lot of young people that are passionate and enjoy what they do because, hey, it is fun. And that enjoyment is intoxicating, and it attracts other people like it attracts you. Like probably it also made me stay for a long time, because the people you meet and the people I've met in these last 30 years, it's fantastic. We've stayed friends for years. And I think that is a wonderful asset to this industry. I don't know how it is in other businesses because I haven't worked there, but the environment that has been presented to me in yachting has been very enriching.
How has it changed from the moment you began in terms of the community, not the yachts, but the yachting community?
It's become a lot larger. I think the clients have morphed kind of from yachtsmen into more people who enjoy a lifestyle that includes a yacht. So, and then grow into the fact that they go to sea, not the other way around. That's not really very black and white, but I noticed that. It's become much more regulated and also much more professional. I mean, before, crews were people that came off the dock and worked on a boat, and some stayed and some left. And now there's much more requirement, and rightly so, in terms of paperwork, certificates, etc., because it is an important aspect of regulation.
And how do you think that the advances in communication, in internet, in AI, in Instagram, everything now is going much and much faster? What's the evolution that you have seen, and what do you think it will be changing thanks to that?
I think it will continue all the time. We have no idea what it will be in 5 years. But I think yachting is a very good seeding ground for a lot of the new technology. So yachting has a tendency to adapt things very quickly and try to make them or adapt them to the use on board of yachting. So that's always interesting. But, you know, artificial intelligence has been with us for a long time. Now everybody's given it a name, but we've been using it for many years in all our different forms of software. And it will get exponentially more. And I think that's a good thing, because anything that makes our life more comfortable, apparently, is a good thing.
Yeah.
I mean, in the old days, we were sending telexes and faxes, etc. And now I can produce much more because I have my emails, my messages, everything in one device.
Yeah.
If that works for me, that must work for everybody else. So things go very quickly.
And you played a big role in the Superyacht Builders Association. Can you talk to me about the association? Yeah,
so I'm one of the founding members as Lürssen, and I've been the president for a long time. The whole idea was to try to organize the builders of larger yachts, so 40 meters and above, and create a group that would speak with one voice with the authorities, the regulators on one hand, and also with people like boat show organizers, etc., Because if every single shipyard has its own voice, it's very diffuse and very little gets done. And we were founding members with Fedship and with Benetti, and we found the other shipyards open to such an idea, and we also found the regulator and the organizers of shows open to such an idea because it made their life a bit easier as well. And over the years, we've been able to achieve great successes with the boat show part of the world, with marketing activities, and also with the regulators. We have an observer status with IMO, which is something which was new, and it allows us to be involved and heard in the making of the regulations that affect our industry. And I'd like to believe that that has worked and that we have arrived in a very good position to make sure that as a block of of yacht manufacturers, we have a voice. And so we have a secretariat and we have a technical director that makes sure that no regulation goes made without at least having discussed it with us.
Yeah. That's wonderful, because as an industry, the regulations and even the technology, everything is such a mystery for other industries. And trying to explain how things work. If I live at my own, I can imagine how is the process. Yeah. So having this entity who can actually clarify.
We're like a lobbyist.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we talk to the EU, we talk to flag states, we talk to regulatory bodies of all sorts that are connected to yachting, in order to make sure that the things that affect us are realistic. We don't want things only our way, but we want to make sure that the things are not become totally inhibitive for somebody to build a boat again.
Of course.
So we have to make sure that we protect our business.
Yeah. And now that you're mentioning that...
We've always been quite aware of the fact that you have to try to stay at the forefront of technology with matters that affect the environment.
And maybe not the best.
And so we have been very much involved from the beginning in particle filters before they were really required. And there's several other things that we're doing to vessels or have done to vessels that try to reduce the ecological impact as much as possible. We don't talk very much about it. We don't want to be, accused of greenwashing or whatever. We let the facts speak for themselves. I actually believe that these boats are much less impactful as many people perceive them to be. But perception is everything. And so we have to work very hard all together to make sure that we maintain a positive view on yachting. And this is one of the things, so at Seabass and the Superyacht Life Foundation, we're very much involved to try to speak out in a more positive way about yachting, so that we remove this negative little barb that people can think, it's a little dirty, that you can not dismiss it lightly, but convince people that no, it's actually okay and things are being improved all the time.
And how do you communicate that message to the outside world so it doesn't just stay inside of the
Well, this is a very good question. That's very difficult because the audience today, with all the new technology, the life cycle of a bit of news is very short.
Yeah.
So we try to repeat it again and again. But the people that are in boating and the people that are considering to build ships and the advisors they have to be aware of this. So we try to communicate to them through our marketing channels, or we invite them to come to the shipyard, or we speak at conferences. So there's enough ways to inform people of how we're going about this.
Which other industries Lürssen works, let's say, in collaboration, just to give the message out? Is there any other luxury industries like aviation?
No, we don't. I've always found that when somebody's focused on the one, the other distracts. So you sometimes you say, you should go to an aircraft show and go there with your boat. I've done that once and then discovered that people say, what's a boat doing here? The focus is on something else. There's not much synergy in that respect, even though the clients probably, an owner of a large yacht is also the owner of an airplane.
Yeah. That's interesting to know. So at the end, we go back to the same circle.
Always. But the group is very small at the end of the day.
Do you think, from your perspective, because I've heard other perspectives saying we need to attract more young people, we need to grow more the industry. Do you think it's a necessary?
Absolutely. I think it's, because there's everywhere today, funnily enough, there's a shortage of of people. And so you cannot just get anybody, you need to get good people. So I always try to reach out to as many young people as I can to say, try yachting, have a look at it. But you have to, if you want to stay in yachting, you have to make a commitment.
Yeah.
And you have to decide to stay. And then you can make a difference. And then you can produce your own things in it. I think yachting is quite attractive to the young because it's very positive. And
see, but it's attractive, but it's not easy. I want to ask you a question. I don't want to ask you what is the ingredients or the qualities to stay, but the opposite. What will be the reasons why you will not be able to stay in yachting?
I think I can't speak for the young because even though I have children, I can marginally understand certain aspects of their vision. But one thing's for sure is will not have changed in life is if there's no incentive to stay from a challenging perspective or from a growth perspective or whatever, or a career perspective, then people leave. So it's up to the people working in this industry to create those paths for people, whether that is in crew or so ship-based or sea-based jobs or land-based jobs. But I think it's also important to continue to maintain this environment where people can expand their, be positive about the things that they can do. Our shipyards exist only because of the people in there. And not all the jobs in the shipyard are considered to be very attractive. And it's difficult to find people in Northern Europe today, no matter what, whether it is in an office position or it is in an engineering position or whether it is in a manufacturing position. It's very difficult because it is the way of the world today. And we're very, very busy through various systems we have set up. We set up a foundation, trying to create possibilities and pathways for the young to say, that's not a bad pathway for me to do something with my life. We've opened an office in Croatia where we are already employing a large amount of young naval architects, engineers in the marine field, etc., to work, to create such a pathway for these people.
So we need to understand that we are, as you said, we are all working for the 1% of the 1%, and that requires the top quality of work, of materials, etc. Do you think this kind of pressure of exigence, I don't know if you say that word, is an obstacle for people to...
No, it wasn't in the past.
Yeah.
I mean, we're here today, so we have to continue.
Yeah.
But you have to be willing to do it at 110%.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
I mean, if you don't work 110%, you will not succeed at your ambition, at your dream.
Yeah.
And I think the same applies to me, to everyone working at Lürssen, to everyone working at Fedship, to everyone working at Oceanco. The same thing. You have to be dedicated, passionate, and go 110%.
So that would be your advice.
Yeah, but it would be my advice if you're a dentist or if you're anything.
For yachting, to somebody who wants to come and work in the industry. And I have to say, from my side, with the right reasons, right? Not because they want to have fun and become millionaires, but because they are truly passionate. What would be the advice to follow the career?
But if you want to be a millionaire, I don't think yachting is unless well, I don't know, I don't think so. No, we work for people that are wealthy, and that you have to understand, you have to live with that and accept that. But I think...
That's a good tip to start, to begin.
But, I was watching at a conference this morning, and one of the things, the transfer of our society, our economy, and where do we want to go? And I think we are already living in a world where the focus is in an intelligent mix between how you feel, happiness, your balance in life, and what is required to maintain a profitable organization. I mean, yachting is in such a fluid thing all the time because people are coming in and going. And things will only happen if you believe in them and if you work harder than the others, get up before the others, go to sleep after the others.
Thanks for joining us today in the Minds of Yachtllywood, the podcast. Don't forget to subscribe for more exciting episodes with incredible guests. Until next time.